Okay guys, let's talk about this. You guys know that, I am a Fuji guy. I've got a lot of Fuji gear. I've got the X-H2, I've got the X-H2S, I've got the X-T5, but I also have the X-T4. Now, after using the X-H2, the X-T5, the X-H2S, I still like to use this camera right here, the X-T4. Now, a lot of people say, well, it doesn't have the focus that the X-T5 or the X-H2 or the newer cameras have, but that really is not true, all right? Because with all the firmware updates that Fujifilm has done to these cameras, specifically the X-T4, the autofocus is pretty good. It's not as good as a Sony, and it's not as good as a Canon. But you see, sometimes we as people that are manipulated by what we listen and what we hear through the media and through advertising and commercials and what people say, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we were shooting with cameras that had terrible, I mean really, really terrible autofocus, and we were super happy with it. So why can't we shoot with something that is not the top-notch, autofocus? Now, does it miss? It might miss one or two, or a little bit here, a little bit there, but it doesn't hunt like people say. That's a lie. And I use the Fujifilm, the Fujinon, the 16 to 80, because when I do video, the 16 to 80 is really one of the better lenses that is made for video, because when you're doing video, you need to have continuous focusing. And not all of the Fuji lenses are optimized for video. All right, so you need to know what you have, and you need to know what really is the best thing, for what you're going to use. The best setup for what you're going to use. Now, why do I like the X-T4 so much? It's not the swivel screen, okay? This has a beautiful swivel screen, like everybody knows. Everybody has shown you out there. It's got the beautiful swivel screen, and and you can see yourself up front and blah 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 and all that stuff, right? And it's not that, all right, because I don't really use a swivel screen. What I do use, though, is something that Fujifilm has not mentioned yet to anybody, is that although the new cameras have a mode for still, like you see right here, a mode for still and a mode for movies, right? Let me see if I can get it to focus. Can it focus? Can it focus? Can it focus? Maybe there we go. All right. Okay. Well. All right. There we go. All right. As you see, it's got for stills and it's got for movies, right? Well, here's the deal, guys. All right. I like to do everything in the camera and not have to go to my computer and do post editing. I like to do everything as much as I can here and just upload, and that is a really effective a form to work, because you want to be able to get your stuff as quickly as possible loaded up on the internet or wherever it is that you want to load it. With that said, this is the only camera that Fujifilm has that gives you 7 customized settings for stills and 7 different customized settings for your movie. All the other ones have a combination. They might give you 7, but it's either you're gonna use it either for stills or you're gonna use it for movies. This one does 7 for film and 7 for photos. Why do I say that? Because some of my film simulations that I do, I custom some film simulations just for the fun of it. Like I have a beautiful Acros film simulation that is a black and white, but it's really simulates what was printed back in the 60s on newspaper, and it comes out really wonderful. And I have also film simulations that imitate the Leica cameras, and so whatever film simulation I want to use for photos, I have it on the photo side. And if I want to do something different, let's say emulating a Alexi Airy, or emulating a 2020 color scheme, I can do that. I can do that with this camera because the simulations, or I should say the custom settings, right? The custom settings between 1 and 7, right, are different from the ones on the movie. So the photos and the movies are two different settings. So you get a total of 14 custom settings, 7 for movies and 7 for photos. That is a huge benefit. All right, very huge. Now, some of you guys will say, "Oh yeah, but it doesn't record 6K." I don't need 6K because what I'm using this is for content creation. Content creation, I film and I upload in 4K. So you don't need 6K. You don't even need 8K. I have a camera that does 8K and I don't use it. I don't use 8K, not because I don't want to, all right, is because the quality that it gives me when you put it on the internet is not really that much noticeable. What's mostly noticeable is your audio. What's mostly noticeable is what your story is about, and so I don't focus on that. And so on my gear, when I do my regular street photography, or I want to do a narrative, explaining something, this is what I use. And I just added the GoPro 9. I did not go for the 10, and I did not go for the 11. I went for the 9 for two reasons. One is because I got it at Best Buy as an open box, and I only paid $200 for the whole thing. It was a great deal, brand new, fully warranted. The 9 does everything, practically just about everything that the 10 and that the 11 does. I don't need all that extra stuff that the 11 and the 10 does. This does 5K recording, all right, 5K video recording, and does photos too. But I use it for video because what I do when I do, let's say, some of the content stuff that I'm going to be bringing on this channel, you're going to see it, is you can see it. You can see me in the video, right, where I'm actually talking and where I'm actually walking while the camera is actually taking the photo. So I will stop at a certain place. I will explain what it is that I'm going to take, as far as a photo. If it's a macro, if it's a bee, a bug, a bird, a landscape scene, a building, whatever it is, I'll explain it, right? This will record it, all right, and this will capture the actual photo, and you can see that. It's sort of like a street style photography, right? It's a hobby, and it's nice and it's beautiful to be able to do, and so that's one reason that I chose the Fujifilm X-T4. On top of that, the Fujifilm X-T4, the actual build, okay, of the Fujifilm X-T4 is way better than the X-T5, the X-H2, and the X-H2S. This still has that metal feel to it, that precision feel to it. The X-T5, it's getting away so much that it just feels very plasticky, very cheap. It's beginning to feel very much like the Chinese, it's getting away. I like the Fujifilm cameras because when I hold them, they feel as solid and as precision made, just like a Leica camera. All right, and that's what I like about them, and so the only thing that I did on this is I didn't have to do it, but I do it because it gives me the Arca Swiss, so I can actually mount it, as you can see here, mount it in landscape or mount it on portrait. I can do it this way, and I can mount it on portrait. So the only thing that I added was a small rig L mount, right? And that's it, and that's all I did. And let me tell you, it's solid. It's weight, because you know it has some weight to it, which you want if you're gonna do any kind of video, or if you're gonna be actually filming, run and gun type deal. You know what I'm saying? You're walking and you need some more stability. Weight will help you with that. And then the only thing that I add is the filters, made by Stingray, which are very expensive filters, but they're they're expensive for a reason. You know what I'm saying? They're expensive for a reason. I just happened to stumble by them. One of my friends, which is a very, very avid photographer, very well known, he does a lot of magazine stuff, he introduced me to these filters, and I got me a pair. I got me an ND filter, and I got me a I think it's called the blue orange polarizer, and it does something with the blues and the oranges. It polarizes it both ways depending on how you rotate the front of the filter. But that's it. That's all I need. And so if you guys see me using the X-T4, right, it's for that reason. Okay, it's just simply for that reason. The build quality, the way it handles, I like it better than my X-T5. I like it better than the X-H2, and I like it better than the X-H2S. The X-T5 does have a 40 megapixel sensor. Yes, it does give you better quality. Yes, it does have better autofocus. Yes, but there's a lot of shortcomings, okay, to it. You can't add a battery, an extra battery grip to it. So if I want to add an extra battery grip so I can do a longer shoots and stuff like that, I can't do that. Although the batteries that these new cameras come with, which is the 235, the W235 batteries, they're awesome. They're really awesome. One battery will probably last you the whole day. But that's not the point. The point is that they've taken away from the greatness of what this camera actually has, right? And this camera here is a little bit bigger than the than the X-T5. Does it matter about the screen in the back, that it flips the way that it does? For me, no. There's only one thing. There's only one thing that I really, really love about this type of screen. And you know what that is? Let me tell you what that is. It's the fact that I can actually turn it like this and it protects my glass. All right, so if I have it in a case or whatever, it's not going to scratch my glass or anything. That's the one thing that I love about this screen. Whether it flips out or it flips sideways, it doesn't matter, because I don't use my cameras to vlog and to see myself. So with that said, this is what I recommend, and the pricing now is a little bit lower. The pricing right now, you can find it on the used market for about, I want to say probably like around $1,200, $1,300. You know what I'm saying? You can find them out there. You can really, really find them. If you look, you can find some really nice ones. If you're gonna do video, there's only a couple of lenses that I really, really, really recommend from the Fuji lineup that are really good for video. One of them is the 16-80 f4. It's not a fast lens. It's not a 1.4. But the difference is that with this lens, you're not going to get that hunting. When it's doing this continuous focusing, you're not going to get that hunting. All right, it's going to get you really, really precise, video, smooth video, with this lens. That's why I recommend it. Sometimes the aperture or how fast the lens is not as important as whether it hunts and it does other things, right? This lens is really good, right? Other than that, I can't say more about this particular setup. So if you guys see me, why I'm carrying an X-T4 when I have an X-T5 and I have an X-H2S and I have an X-H2, it's because of that. All right, it's because I like the way it feels. I like the heftiness of it. I love the build of it, and I love the fact that it's retro style still, right? But it's it's everything, the whole concept of everything, plus the extra customization settings that you have, you know, it's what I need. I don't need anything more to be able to create wonderful content that is going to be posted in social media or on YouTube. This is a overkill. Actually, this is a overkill, all right, for that type of scenario. Anyways, this is Charles Richard. I hope that you enjoyed this really short rumble about the X-T4. But if you're out shopping for a camera, seriously think about this X-T4. Take it from somebody like me that has all these other cameras, and I can tell you, and I have all these lenses, and my experience, you know, is this. And I hope this, anyways, gives you a little bit of information so that you can make a proper decision as to what camera, if you decide to go with Fuji, right, what camera you will choose for your next camera. Anyways, this is Charles Richard. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, okay, because there's a lot more stuff coming. So hang on, because here we go.